So if you're watching this tutorial, you're trying to find out how to do the moss stitch because it's part of the Darn Good Yarn monthly challenges that we do. And the moss stitch is a pretty easy stitch to learn. It's basically just a repeating stitch. So basically what's going to happen, you'll have 4 rows and you'll do them in a certain pattern, and then you'll repeat that pattern until you get to the end. The basic pattern, very simple, is just to say it first and then we'll show it, is the first row is going to be a knit stitch, and that's followed by a purl stitch, and then a knit stitch and a purl stitch and a knit stitch and a purl, and all the way till the end of however many stitches that you've cast on. The second row will be the same thing, but you're going to do it on the other side. So it's going to be a knit stitch, purl stitch, knit stitch, purl stitch, which if you turn it over, you'll see that it's going to be basically the same thing that you did before. The third row is going to change that. We'll go to purl 1 and then knit 1 and then keep repeating, and the fourth row will be the same thing. So let's start with the first. I've already cast on 4 rows. So I'm going to start again. I have 6 stitches that I've cast on. I'm doing this only for demonstration. It's a larger gauge needle. I've got the 8s and a larger weight yarn. So you're going to have a bigger thing. I would probably recommend you do it on a smaller one. I'll show you with this one in just a sec. So first thing you do is you do your knit. Most people are at a point right now where they have the knit stitches and the purl stitches down. You do a purl. I'm just going to go fairly slow here just so you can see what the pattern is. You're going to have a knit. You're going to have a purl. Now, some people find themselves getting confused or distracted. And there are a lot of distractions in our lives. There are spouses, and there are kids, and there are animals, and there are noises from around the room. And you get distracted and you think you're doing knit 1 and you're doing a knit stitch, and all of a sudden you realize you're doing a purl stitch. So what I find myself doing, and I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to start row 2. Knit and purl and knit and purl and knit and purl. There you go. Okay. Now we've just done 2 rows of knit and purl, and now we're going to do a purl stitch to begin. So we do purl, knit, purl, knit. And if you know the continental stitch and you want to do that, feel free. I'm just doing this because this is probably about the easiest one right now for me to do. Purl. Yeah. And then we'll do the 4th row. And the other thing is, if you're beginning and you're just starting out, all the counting and everything else is, I know it's very hard to do, to sometimes keep track, but if you keep doing it over and over again, it does become second nature. And then you can actually do things like talk to somebody and do videos while you're doing your stitches without getting too confused. Which is actually, I'm doing this right now, and I'm actually amazing myself that I can do this without getting screwed up. So there you have the basic moss stitch pattern, and you'll just repeat this and keep repeating this until you get the full thing. Now let's switch real quick over to the, just so you can see what it's going to look like when you're going. And what I have done here, and this is just a suggestion, you don't have to do this on a regular, you know, you can do a basic thing. I've put a border. So when I cast on, I did 2 rows of just knit stitches, and that creates, as we've said before, the garter stitch. So basically you're just knitting every row, and then what I've done is I've done a border of 3 stitches, 3 knit stitches, and then I do my moss stitch, repeat, and then I finish with 3 stitches. So I've cast on 30 stitches, and 24 of those are going to be the moss stitch, and 6 of those are going to be the border, the beginning and the end. In some patterns, people will use this or a variation of this when they're doing turning out a heel on a sock. So it gives you kind of a nice strong, it gives you strength, but it also gives you a texture that's pretty cool. So this is your basic moss stitch, and when you make it, I hope you have fun with it.